The daughter of the owner of Korean Air has resigned from her position as the vice president of the company after she lost it over a nut debacle on a flight. This is a real story.
Well, we don't have comedy writers here.
Heather Cho was on the flight, and apparently she, part of her position as a vice president is to do quality control, make sure that the flight attendants are doing their jobs. But she was on the flight as a passenger. She wasn't there doing any analysis on how people were doing their jobs that day. And apparently one flight attendant had the audacity to hand her macadamia nuts in a bag as opposed to on a nice plate, which is what she deserves as the vice president of the company. So she got really upset about this, and she basically said that he needed to get kicked off the flight. And he did get kicked off the flight, and that delayed the flight by about 11 minutes. Now, of course, this led to a huge controversy in the media. People were really upset about it because of the sense of entitlement that she obviously had here. People were late, even though it was just only, 11 minutes, not a big deal, but still, the flight was delayed because she had to have her nuts on a plate.
I rented that last night. Nuts on a plate. Have you ever?
It's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody get these motherfucking nuts on this motherfucking plate.
So anyway, after the controversy, she resigned. However, she is keeping her title of vice president of the company.
Yeah, well, apparently resigned in Korean means something else.
Yeah.
Well, resigned.
She's resigned to keep her job.
Right. She's resigned to stay in the same position. I like stories like this because it's always, like, there are choices that people have in life. And sometimes, we talk about bad laws, we talk about bad decisions, but everybody's got a choice to make, Not always. Sometimes you've got to react viscerally. But like, I use this example all the time, but I really think it's a good one, is that because it applied to other cops, but the cops there, and I think Bowers versus Hardwick, but whatever the Georgia sodomy case is, where those guys got called in and they kick open the door when they get called by the neighbors because the neighbors say it's loud sex coming on, and what the neighbors want to do is, I hate these gay people living next door, and it's two men having sex. And a cop comes through the door, and he's got a law on the books, an anti-sodomy law in Georgia. So he can arrest those guys under that anti-sodomy law. It's since been overturned, but at the time he could arrest him. And, he's got a choice. He got a million decisions police make on a daily basis. How about this? Guys, quiet down. Your neighbors are complaining, calling us. I don't want to come again. See ya. You guys come again. Right?
Yeah.
Right? And then go about your business, man. Nobody cares. They're in private, right? That's a decision he could have made. He chose not to. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure he hides behind, I'm just following the law. Bullshit, he's an incompetent cop. He should never be on the job. Like, this woman, even if she's in quality control, you're going to cost this. She was prepared to have a guy lose his livelihood. Mm-hmm. Because as opposed to saying, I'm Heather Cho with quality control for the airline. These are supposed to be in a plate. Mm-hmm. Make sure in the future. And then go on the flight. That's it.
Does it really matter whether or not your nuts are in a bag or on a plate? No, but really, rich people live in a different world than us, right? Because first of all, if I'm getting macadamia nuts on a flight, win.
First of all,
I'm a happy camper. How often do you get macadamia nuts? Those are expensive. Have you tried buying macadamia nuts?
Yes, I have tried.
I will tell you that
I always fuck it up right at the end. Shit! I can't buy these nuts. Why don't they come in a sack like mine do?
Yeah, well, I was waiting, but never mind.